actually was going in for a routine annual exam, and I was having my first mammogram due to my recent family history of breast cancer. The mammogram was negative, and we were all very excited about that, but fortunately, my doctor didn't rely on that, and she also performed a physical exam, and she felt something that was suspicious to her, and she decided to do further testing right away. So I was very fortunate in that regard. I was diagnosed at the age of 36, and I had a feeling of disbelief. I was very overwhelmed and could not believe that it was me, being that my mother was diagnosed 1 month prior to this, and my grandmother just the January of this same year. So I barely had a chance to cope with being a caregiver before I realized that I would need care myself. I chose to do a bilateral mastectomy because of the guidance of my doctor dealing with the aggressiveness of the tumor that they found and my age. So after the surgery, the doctors and I chose to do chemotherapy, and I had 8 rounds of that. Chemotherapy was initially very scary. The unknown of it all made it a very nervous reaction for me at first. Just not knowing what to expect and getting so many different, advice on what different things to do to handle it. And I basically had to finally learn to just listen to my body and discover what regimen worked best for me. And if something was not right, I communicated that strongly with my doctor and the nurses, and we eventually found what was able to help me to be able to cope. Lots of rest, lots of hydration, medication as needed, and really being open about how I felt going through that situation at that time. I was fortunate enough that I had been on my job for a while, never really had a major illness. So I did have some time that I could take off to be able to allow myself to heal. So throughout the recovery from the surgery and the chemotherapy, I was able to be off. But right after my last infusion, I went right back to work a week later. My biggest support, I would have to say, was my husband. He was there for me from the beginning to the first ultrasound, the biopsy, everything, every appointment. He was there. He was my caregiver until I was able to be able to care for myself. And then I found a big support in others that were like me. My mom and I were going through chemotherapy at the same time, so we found a lot of support in each other. But there were also some blogs and Facebook survivor groups that I was able to become a part of to hear stories from other women like me, and to realize that they'd gone through it and I could make it too. My boys at the time of my diagnosis were 11 and 6. And initially, I was very honest with them, and they seemed to handle it pretty well, I guess. Their main concern was just wanting me, knowing or having a comfort in knowing that I was going to be there, that I was not going to die. And I promised them that I would fight and do everything that I could to be there for them, and that I was not going to go down without a fight. And once they realized that, They were understanding when I didn't feel well. I communicated that to them, and they understood. And on days that I did feel okay, we would be able to go outside and play and spend time together, and they enjoyed those moments. And now they're back to normal, just as rowdy and rough as ever. I think Survive Miss would be a great support system for other young breast cancer survivors. I had to seek outside sources, actually reaching out to others who were like me and who had gone through the same situation as me. I think if there was a support system at the actual facility where I was being treated, then I would have not had to research to find that support. It would have been there for me. And I felt that I was just fortunate that I actually found that support, and there may be many out there who are not able to find it. So I feel something like this would be a great benefit to us, like to other breast cancer survivors. Anything that comes my way, I know that I can survive it no matter what it is. I've come through this by faith. I'll make it through anything. I'm Valerie, and I'm a breast cancer survivor.